But the fact is, it's quite simple. Joe Biden is the only person who's still remaining who has a relationship with the African American community, point blank and period.
All right, early voting has started in Nevada just 7 days before the next contest in the Democratic primary race. And 2020 presidential candidates are holding campaign events all across the Silver State ahead of next Saturday's caucuses. Senator Amy Klobuchar is set to hold a rally in Las Vegas at any moment now, and she looks to carry her campaign's momentum to the West. That's her hope. CNN's senior national correspondent Kyung Law joining me now from the event. So what is she saying?
Well, this is her second event of the day, Frederica, and it is a get out the vote event. And, you know, you were talking about the momentum. Remember, this is a candidate who isn't as well known as the others, who has not had the infrastructure or spent the amount of time here in Nevada as she did in Iowa and New Hampshire. And this is the crowd that she is arriving to. It's a packed auditorium for one of the lesser known candidates, but who had beat expectations in New Hampshire. So she is just one of the Democratic candidates who is canvassing the state of Nevada. Take a live look at what Joe Biden is doing. He is also out in the Las Vegas area. Now, Joe Biden, the former vice president, very well known, he is trying to turn around that fifth place loss in New Hampshire. Also up and about this morning, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is in Carson City. He is, if you talk to a lot of the Democrats here, somebody who is the front runner, that a lot of people here in Nevada are feeling very good about his chances here in the state. As far as what Amy Klobuchar is saying, she is still saying she is the underdog. Take a listen to what she said at her rally this morning.
I've just done this step by step by step, and when you think of where I came from, there were a lot of people that actually didn't think I was going to make it through that speech in the middle of a blizzard.
And that blizzard that she's talking about is when she announced in Minnesota. Today, Frederica, is the first day of early voting. There are 4 days of early voting, 1 week until the Nevada caucuses. Frederica?
All right, getting started early. Thank you so much, Kyung Law. All right, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi weighs in on the 2020 Democratic presidential primary race in an exclusive interview with CNN's Christian Amanpour. Here are some of what the California Democrat had to say.
There seems to be a huge amount of hullabaloo in the Democratic Party about which is the most electable candidate, how, if we want to remove the president in an election, how do we best do it? What do you think about this? I know you're not going to weigh in on behalf of any candidate, but where do you think you are as a party?
I think we're just what the Democratic Party is, a party of vitality, differences of opinion, which we will resolve. I had trust in the American people. Let's see what the elections put forth. It isn't up to me to decide. It's up to the people. And I'm excited about it. I think every one of our candidates, all 25, I don't know if Michael Bloomberg's counted in the 25, but Michael Bloomberg too, have made a very valuable contribution to the debate, putting forth their vision, their knowledge, their judgment, their strategic thinking about how to connect with the American people about a better future for our country. Easy to say any one of them would be a better president than the current occupant of the White House, but we want to be very positive about how we go forward. And this is how you make those decisions. So I'm grateful to all of them for putting themselves on the line, putting forth their ideas, and now we come down to the winnowing process. But I see everything as an opportunity. And I see, quite frankly, with all the respect in the world for Iowa and New Hampshire, I'm not counting Joe Biden out. There's still races ahead that are much more representative of the country. And I'm long time. I was a state party chair. I've been chair of the platform committee. I've been chair of the delegate selection committee. All of these things before I ever went to Congress. The platform was when I was in Congress. And again, the differences of opinion are what we are about. We're not a lockstep, take it from the top down, this is what it's going to be.
You've been elected over and over and over again, and you said to me before the midterms, as long as he's there, i.e. President Trump, I'm here. Do you still,
Oh my God.
Is that still the case for you?
Oh, I can't even envision a situation where he would be reelected. But we don't take anything for granted. As I say, that we have to have our own vision for the future, but everybody knows that we must be unified in making sure that he does not have a second term. Our country is great. The American people are wonderful. We're a resilient country. We can withstand one term. But the destruction that he would do to the courts of our country and the environment, where he says, I'm not going to use science as any basis for decisions on the environment, when he says, Article 2 says I can do whatever I want, he must be defeated. And again, I always say in the arena to our candidates, when you're in that arena, and I say this to the women members, we're so proud to have so many now, 91 Democrats, I say to them, when you're in the arena, you have to be prepared to throw a punch, because you have to be prepared to take a punch for the children.
All right, Nancy Pelosi there with our Christian Amanpour. All right, joining me right now to discuss is CNN political commentator Bakari Sellers. He's a Democrat and a former South Carolina state representative, and Dean Obeidallah, a CNN opinion contributor and the host of the Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM Radio. Good to see you both.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, so Dean, you first. Let's begin with what Speaker Pelosi is saying. That for starters, she said she can't even envision a situation in which President Trump would be reelected in November. In her view, he's just been simply too destructive. But should Democrats be that confident?
I think they have every reason to be. Frankly, she said, "Don't take it for granted. You have to work hard." I think honestly, November 3rd, Election Day, that evening, we're talking about Donald Trump being the first president not reelected since 1992. And I say that because I hear the energy from Democrats calling my show, and moderates, and even former Republicans. And it's not just talking points. Look at the data. First of all, 538 does polling. It's nonpartisan. Donald Trump may have moved up slightly in approval rating. He has the lowest approval rating of any president this many days in his term, even lower than Jimmy Carter and George Herbert Walker Bush, and they both lost. But more recently, and more importantly, and I think more instructively, look what's happened since 2017. Democrats have flipped 9 governorships from red to blue. We've won over 400 state legislative seats, including Virginia taking both chambers last year for the first time in 25 years. 2018, we won the House by the biggest margin of victory ever. So, Fred, to me, Donald Trump is making the Democratic Party great again, hashtag MDGA. And look, he's motivating us. When he gives red meat to his base, he doesn't realize it. He's giving red meat to us and animates us even more to come out and vote. But Dean, it's about coalescing, Democrats coalescing around a candidate who can take on Donald Trump. And you feel confident about that? I absolutely do. This is every incumbent president who's on the ballot. It's a referendum on that person. With Donald Trump, it's not just a referendum on Trump. It's a referendum on America. What kind of country do you want to see? It's not, are you better off economically 4 years ago today than you were 4 years ago? It's, do you want 4 more years of this toxic person in the White House who celebrates cruelty and racism and sexism, who defends every man who abuses women, from Roy Moore to Roger Ailes, to his aide Rob Porter, to Brett Kavanaugh? Do you want 4 more years of that? And that's the question going out there. So it's a referendum on Trump. It's a referendum on America and our values. What do we want to see going forward? And I think we're going to win that fight, because what stands in the balance, what's hanging in the balance, is so great for our nation. People don't want 4 more years of this, I can assure you. So, Bakari, former Vice President Joe Biden, he's looking to secure more support, particularly among black voters, making a campaign stop at a barbershop in Las Vegas today. Speaker Pelosi says, she's not counting Biden out of the race, even though he didn't do well in Iowa and New Hampshire. Now, his support that he may or may not get in Nevada, how influential might that be in your state of South Carolina, which would be, very soon on the horizon?
Well, South Carolina voters, they aren't looking to Iowa and New Hampshire and even Nevada for guidance on how they're going to vote in this election. I do think Joe Biden would do extremely well. I think that caucuses actually tend to lean in the direction of Bernie Sanders. And so I expect Bernie Sanders to be in the top 2. I also expect Joe Biden to have a 1 or 2 finish. And I think that if he's able to secure a 1 or 2 finish in Nevada, that momentum will lead him into South Carolina. But the fact is, it's quite simple. Joe Biden is the only person who's still remaining who has a relationship with the African American community, point blank and period. Tom Steyer, who was actually going to surprise many people, I think, when they come to South Carolina because of the money that he's invested in the state. His most devastating question is, where have you been prior to running for president of the United States? And I think many black voters will feel that. However, Tom is still going to beat Amy Klobuchar. He's still going to beat Elizabeth Warren. He's going to beat Pete Buttigieg, which should speak loudly to voters on Super Tuesday. I wouldn't count Joe Biden out either. I love Iowa. I absolutely adore New Hampshire, particularly King County. But I will tell you that it ain't reflective of the Democratic base.
So Bakari, let's stay in South Carolina for a moment because, Politico has a pretty strong report, out, and it says, that some Democrats in South Carolina believe that Biden's message, is a problem, that he is not inspiring, and that, his ground game is flawed, according to this, Politico reporting, and that he's just not connecting with people. Is that what you're finding from people in South Carolina? Are they starting to change their mind about Biden, who went into, this with, such glowing support, particularly from the African-American voting bloc in South Carolina?
No, I speak to my mama and daddy every day. And my mama and daddy are Biden supporters. Their friends are Biden supporters. They're doing phone trees and calling around, talking to me about the politics of the state and the country, and talking about how Joe Biden, how well he's doing. Politico has become somewhat finite, and they've created these pieces that they attempt to inflict these mortal wounds on candidates. I've been on the other side of that with Kamala Harris. I do think that report left out the fact that there are many people who still understand that Joe Biden, whether or not it's actually coming to Kiowa Island every summer or being the vice president of the United States for Barack Obama. Let's not undervalue that. And it's hilarious because you have people like Elizabeth Warren, you have people like even Mike Bloomberg, for Christ's sake, who had
Obama
no relationship.
makes a lot of appearances in the Mike Bloomberg ads.
And it's insane because we know that Mike Bloomberg called him arrogant. We know he didn't endorse him in 2008. Mike Bloomberg rather endorsed George W. Bush for president than Barack Obama in 2008. The relationship was frosty at best. Non-existent is probably the truth of the matter. And so that fraud is going to be unveiled between now and then. But I'm just saying that everybody has to chill, relax. Joe Biden, don't count him out. He has work to do, but we'll see what happens.
All right. So Dean, Senator Elizabeth Warren, she had some pretty disappointing, results in Iowa, New Hampshire. But, do you think her campaign has real hopes and aspirations of staying alive?
I hope it does. I admire her. I admire her focus on details, her wonkiness. I love policy. She's talked about it. She ascended this summer, and it was remarkable. I went to New Hampshire last spring, not just this year. Last spring, went to some of her events. Audiences loved her. And then just this slide over this summer. I hope she can right this ship. These two states coming up, though, don't play well for her, at least according to the polls. So we'll see. Can she get out there, overperform? She's not going to win either this state, but overperform. Maybe it rights the ship.
All right.
Can I comment on that
real
quick?
Go ahead.
Are we going
there she is in Las Vegas, as you comment, eating with some folks there, and nobody ever likes to be photographed while eating, but go ahead.
No, I wanted to say that Elizabeth Warren has been so vital to this process, and Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar have carried the mantle for many of us who want to see a woman be president of the United States. What Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar are going to do is what I believe they're going to do, I hope they're going to do, is when they actually have the opportunity this week, fingers crossed, to debate Mike Bloomberg, I think you'll be able to see both of them have somewhat of a rise and somewhat of a pop. They have demographic challenges, both of them. But I do think that Mike Bloomberg, standing across from two women who have better records, two women who are stronger leaders, two women who are more capable than he is, I want to see that dynamic on stage. And just as someone who loves Democratic politics, I want to see these women do extremely well, and I believe they will.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Bakari, Dean, good to see you. Thank you so much for being with me this Saturday.
Thank you. See you next weekend.
Okay, can't wait.